Redditors, what's the weirdest thing you've caught a roommate doing? Years ago, I lived with a bunch of strangers in a house and one of the roommates didn't speak English. It was Christmas break, so I'm out of school and have tons of free time. I'm chilling in the common area reading, as I had been doing for a week, and this roommate, who I can't communicate with, starts cooking something spicy on the stove. All of a sudden he starts panicking and yelling in his language. I hear pots banging and furious chopping of vegetables or something. This goes on for 6 hours. Yelling, chopping, yelling, chopping. Finally he comes out from the kitchen 6 hours later with a tiny bowl of soup. I thought okay, he must have prepped a week's worth of meals and stored the rest. But later that night I leave out the back door and there's this beef soup concoction strewn throughout the lawn. He had dumped pots worth of soup outside. To this day, I'm still not sure what happened with this guy in that kitchen. He was after the perfect bowl of soup. She would sometimes go out to do Lord knows what and then come in late at night. It would be well after midnight, sometimes 2 or 3 in the morning, and I would be in bed asleep already. But she would always wake me up because she was so dang loud coming in. She would come in, flip the lights on, and whisper my name a couple times to see if I would respond. I would pretend to be asleep because I didn't really like her or want to talk to her, especially that late at night. As soon as she thought I was asleep, she would let it rip. I'm talking loud, long farts. It was really hard not to laugh. Your roommate was a Beyblade. Not me, but a friend. He caught his roommate masturbating over him while he was asleep. Woke up, asked him WTF. Guy had shirt and no pants, Winnie the Pooh style. Claimed he was looking in friend's room for his icy hot due to a backache, while sporting a boner. Argument ensues. Friend moves out. It was the last straw in a long line of creeper behavior. Winnie the Pooh style. Standing completely naked in the kitchen washing her hair, with my shampoo, in the kitchen sink that was already packed full with dirty dishes. We had 2 showers and 4 bathroom sinks in our apartment, none of which were in use. Why? So she could wash the dishes with the shampoo. Not thought through. She would pleasure herself in the shower and scream in ecstasy, not realizing that just because she couldn't hear us didn't mean we couldn't hear her. It was very uncomfortable. I believe she was just using herbal essence shampoo. My old roommate, he was technically the homeowner but lived in a shack in the backyard, would come into my room early in the morning and watch me sleep. I was a bartender at the time, so I would get home about an hour or so before he would be leaving for work. I was always thoroughly passed out when he'd leave and I'm a heavy sleeper, so I did not notice this was happening for months until a guy I was seeing stayed up and caught him opening my door. There was also a second door to my room that I could not open. It was locked from the other side. I don't know what was going on in there, but I'm fairly certain he was spying on me from that room as well. He was a complete crazy person. Holy crap, I would be afraid for my life. I once walked out of my room and found him lying on the kitchen floor. I asked if he was alright cause I thought maybe he'd slipped or something, but he said nope. Just wanted to dirty himself before having a shower. Proceeded to make floor angels and lay there for another good 15 minutes or so. In college we had a house with 5 rooms and for a while had a bunch of roommates come and go pretty quickly. This resulted in Steve, a random friend of a former roommate, moving in, and shortly thereafter Steve's brother Kevin moving in, and a couple weeks later Steve moved out. So we're now left with an empty room and Kevin, who we really don't know and seems like a really sketchy guy. Turns out he was a really sketchy guy, very heavy into drugs and just generally trashy. One of my other roommates, Carl, lets me know the morning after a party that someone is coming by to check out the room later, so we start cleaning up the cups and crap left over from the night before. My little brother had stayed the night, so we were cleaning the upstairs and Cole was out front cleaning up some things in the front yard when the person coming to look at the room pulled up. Carl goes and introduces himself and starts showing her around the house. He brings her upstairs and introduces her to me and my brother and then shows her to what would be her room. Finally he walks her out and my brother and I start talking about how she seemed kinda trashy and a little bit old to be interested in a room by a college campus like we had, but whatever. All of a sudden Carl comes running up the stairs laughing his butt off. He explains that after he'd finished the tour and walked out with the girl, she stopped him and said, "I don't think you know why I'm here." Cole responded, "You're interested in the room we have, right?" she responded. No, I'm a call girl. Someone named Kevin called for me." It turned out Kevin had called a prostitute and we just gave her a tour of the whole house. I can't imagine what was going through her head as he's saying things like, "And here's your room and this is my roommate and his brother." She must have thought she was getting into some crazy freaky crap. Needless to say, she didn't move in and we encouraged Kevin to move out shortly thereafter. I lived with a furry once, and his bedroom had a number of posters, prints of furry characters, some not dressed all too appropriately, some not dressed at all. That didn't bug me at all, but I did find it pretty weird how he refused to take them down whenever he had company over, including his grandmother, who didn't seem to approve of his taste in women or modesty. I was just about to say that he should be able to have whatever he wanted on his own walls, no matter who saw, and then I read grandma and change my mind. Seriously, don't display your pee to your grandma. That's not normal. Came home from work early and found him in just his tighty whities and motorcycle helmet playing a racing game. There's a man who knows how to enjoy life. Lying about taking a shower. Claimed someone broke in and left the mess around the shower, not her. My lying about when I last showered goes the other way. My roommate's cat died. He slept with his dead cat in his bed for like 3 days, knowing it was dead. He only stopped when it started to smell. This is actually depressing. 3 of my friends all shared a house together, and one day I pop over with one of them after we had been out and about doing some crap. The front door had the chain on, so we went round the back and went in, and there was our other friend naked, wanking, stood up, in the kitchen, with his laptop on an ironing board. He just went, "Oh frick," and we walked back out and went to the pub nearby. He joined us 20 minutes later for a pint and tried to act like nothing had happened. I'm just laughing at "oh frick." I came out around 1 AM to go to the bathroom and heard a weird rustling in the kitchen. I turned the corner and found my roommate sleeping in our sink. Your roomie might be a cat. My roommate was just sitting in his chair at his computer watching pee, pants on and everything. When I walked in, I could see what it was before he promptly, yet calmly, shut it off. He then proceeded to unplug it and work on it for 30 minutes because he thought that something was wrong with it. He was trying to find that perfect video before he took his pants off. I had a roommate in college who would constantly brag to people on the phone that he was in the army. A conversation would go something like this: "Yo bro, swear to God we flew over the desert and killed like 50 terrorists." I would be like, "Dude, in your robe, watching TV." When he came back home, his friends threw him a welcome home party as if he was actually in the army. Plus he used to rent military costumes, post pics on Facebook and stuff like that. I can't decide if that makes me more sad or angry. Guy was catfishing his former roommate. We shared a computer in that house and I came across a chat window he left open revealing a very lengthy and graphic sex session where my roommate was pretending to be a super frisky Japanese girl and getting nasty with the other guy. When asked, he claimed it was to get revenge on his old roommate over a security deposit thing. He said he was going to print off all of the chat sessions and mail them to his roommate's mom. I never used a computer again. You were roommates with a true nemesis of someone, or a guy who was into pretending to be a Japanese chick on the internet, or both. I rented a room from an old gay man. I was 24-26 when I lived there. He was like 73-75. He ran a massage studio out of his bedroom. I'd often see naked men walking through the hallway, which I assume means they were just serviced. He also would watch pee on TV like normal people would watch Netflix or something, you know, as background noise. One time one of his customers came into the bathroom when I was showering and opened the curtain. I installed a lock shortly after. Needless to say, it was always an adventure. But hey, the rent was only $250 a month including utilities. Frick, I'm moving in. I walked in on my roommate's girlfriend shaving his butt for him. That image is etched in my mind forever. True love. My roommate was too lazy to take the trash out to the dumpster, so they would just put the full bags of garbage in the outdoor storage closet on our balcony. I had no idea until one day we were cleaning and they say we have to take the other trash out too. There were at least 20 full bags of trash in there. She had this cup full of liquid by her bed. There's no better way to describe it really. She kept her toothbrush in it, bristles down in the liquid, and when it came to teeth brushing time, she'd basically just take the toothbrush out, brush her teeth, spit into the cup and shove her toothbrush back into her cup. I'm retching just thinking about it. That sucker stole my recipe for mint kombucha. Walked in on 5 of my roommates waterboarding the 6th. It was an ROTC house, and we had discussed the topic before, but I guess after a couple fifths they decided to actually go through with it. The guy getting waterboarded was strapped to our beer pong table with a dishcloth over his head and a female friend, and I walked in as my scariest looking roommate was about to pour a gallon of water on his face. On the upside, my female friend and I went straight upstairs. ROTC kids always take crap to the extreme, LMAO. This one's what my roommate walked in on me doing. So, it's the middle of winter, and I come in after classes and look in the mirror. My hair's a mess from all of the wind we had been getting. Spur of the moment, I decide that I'm sick of it. Haircuts cost money though, so I grab some scissors and start chopping 10-13 inches of my hair off. My roommate didn't come in until I had mostly finished and started to even it out. There was no good way for me to see the back of my head, so I loosely wrapped a belt around the top of my neck and tried to go off of that. So, she walked in around then, with bits of my hair everywhere, a belt tied around my neck, and me squatting on a chair, weird mirror position, trying to cut the hair on the back of my head. That was the first time I had ever heard her curse. Once she cooled down and finished telling me how stupid I was and not to ever tie belts around my neck, she helped me even it out and left me to clean up all of my hair. I had caught most of it in double-ended ponytails, so it was all of the small pieces from straightening it out that were the issue. They were on the floor, counter, and all over me. So I clean up the bathroom and decide to take off my shirt and vacuum it too. It works, for the most part, and I notice that there are bits of hair all over my back and chest. So I take off my bra, turn the smallish vacuum around and start vacuuming my chest. And she walks in again to see me topless and basically stabbing myself in the chest with a vacuum. Your housemate was probably like, far out, can't leave this girl alone for 2 seconds. Spraying our clean dishes with Raid to keep the bugs away. Caught him at 3 AM. I had a roommate who had decided that he wanted to start eating food purely for nutritional purposes without any regard for taste or appearance. So I opened the fridge a couple days later to find that all the Tupperware containers and many other dishes filled with this disgusting food that he made. This food was basically a mashed together mixture of frozen vegetables, oatmeal, eggs and some other things that he had heated together in a big pot. Needless to say, he didn't last very long on this diet and ended up throwing most of it away. He's done some other weird things, but I can't really remember any right now. I had a roommate in college who had a thing for making love to very, very large women. He had a room on the ground floor off of living room where we would all hang out. He was too embarrassed to admit his preferences in women, so he would force his hookups to exit through his window. Only problem is our house was L-shaped, and his window was visible from the living room. So on numerous occasions we got to watch large women fall out of his window. I used to live with what I've decided was one of the most disgusting couples ever. We lived in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment. They would use my dishes and leave them in their room, unwashed, usually with food in them. They didn't want to buy a litter box for their cat, so they took a plastic gallon tub and just dumped litter in it. Their cat constantly peed in their closet on their shoes and they'd just continue wearing them. But the worst, when we moved out, I had to clean everything or I knew we wouldn't get our deposit back. They had cleaned out most of their things and I let them know I was going to clean their room. They said cool, they were never going to do it. So I go in, armed with gloves, a scarf covering my mouth, and a bottle of bleach. Boy was I unprepared. I walk in and this stench just hits me. Their bedroom door was always closed and they always had incense burning, so I never smelled it. They had a couple cardboard boxes filled with poop and toilet paper. I ran out of there so fast and called them, screaming and demanding to know what was going on. They said sometimes I would be in the bathroom and instead of knock or hold their bladder, they would crap in boxes. They tried to play it off as we take it out once a week like it was changing the litter box. I think you might have been living with ferals. It happens from time to time when a human is never properly house trained. My old roommate had a picture of he and his mom by his bedside. His mom looked a lot like Dinah Shore, which sort of made sense because so did he when I thought about it. Sort of round face, blonde hair, and he was gay, so whatever, that's cool. Somehow that all fit together in my head. Then one day we were all in his room smoking out and I told him, Rodney, I gotta say your mom looks just like Dinah Shore. He asked, how do you know what my mom looks like, and I pointed to the picture. Rodney says, that's not my mom, that's Dinah Shore. Ha 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 ha, didn't see that coming. He ran out into the intersection that's just outside his window with a baseball bat to yell, who's fricking honking? Actually laughed at this. My 15-year-old stepbrother who was staying at my family's house thought he had the entire place to himself. I come out of my room to find some food after sleeping in really late. As I'm walking down the hallway toward the living room, I can hear the TV on, but turned down almost all the way. Something tells me to peek around the corner instead of just walking into the living room, and what I saw still haunts me to this day. He was not sitting on the couch masturbating. He was squatting on top of the cushion, staring at the TV with his mouth hanging open and masturbating. I immediately look away and start to walk back down the hallway as quickly and quietly as possible, trying to tell my shaken self that I didn't just see that. Then I hear it. The TV was turned up just enough to where the last thing I hear before taking refuge in my room was that iconic dun dun from Law and Order. What the frick? To this day I've coined his particular style as the gargoyle. You have been visited by the wealth rat. Subscribe in 12 seconds and he will share his wealth with you. Like and subscribe, you magnificent person.